Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN Weekly for Saturday, July 11th, 2020. And our top story today, we'll take a look at MarketWatch's new retirement advice column. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Alessandra Melito. She is the retirement reporter for Dow Jones MarketWatch. Ali, welcome back to the program. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, nice to be here.
It's great to have you. I hope you had a great 4th of July. Let's jump in because MarketWatch, very innovative organization. You started a new column, you and the team at MarketWatch started a new column where individuals around theoretically around the globe can ask questions of the team, and you'll then give responses in terms of financial guidance and financial awareness. What can you tell us about what you're doing?
So the column is called Help Me Retire. I write a piece for it about once a week, and we take questions from readers about basically anything that has to do with them and their path to retirement. It's never clear cut because, personal finance is personal and so is retirement savings. But it's been really interesting to see just what people are thinking about, what they're worried about, how they're approaching retirement. Mm-hmm. So I've only been doing it for about a month now, and I did my 4th piece yesterday. And in that time, we have covered coronavirus-related distributions, if you should take them. In this particular case, the couple had seen a reduction in hours, just minimally though. It wasn't like they weren't able to, pay their bills anymore. It was just they saw this reduction and they thought, well, now I can take advantage of the distributions without penalties and extra fees and things like that. And he was wondering if he should take advantage of the new rules allowing the expansion of the 401k distribution without those penalties. We also spoke with somebody who he has been saving all his life. He and his wife, they max out their retirement accounts. They have a 7-figure nest egg, and somebody told him that he was saving too much for retirement and he was missing out on life. So he was asking if there was such a thing to oversave for retirement. I also did one on stay-at-home moms. And, she's a stay-at-home mom, her husband works, but they are wondering how she'll be able to retire comfortably, or, how to take into consideration her retirement needs also. And yesterday was something that, lots of people have questions about, just, it's not always in the form of an email to our column, but it was a young couple who the husband has student debt. They have a mortgage. They have a 1.5-year-old child. They're expecting to have a second baby, although, they're not sure when exactly, but soon. And to make matters more complicated, he is planning on moving in a year or so for a new job. And in which case, if he gets it, she would stay at home. So he was like, what are the best vehicles to save for retirement? And what should we do with the extra cash flow we have every month? Mm-hmm. So it's been really humbling to be able to talk to financial advisors and help people with their own personal situations. I always, make it clear that this is, in the writing, that this is based on what they're telling me, and it's just direction. We are not financial advisors, but we can talk to financial advisors and say, based on this scenario and this scenario, what do you think might be the best path for these people to take? And it's been really lovely to see the responses from the readers when we do finally answer their questions.
Yeah, I think this is what it should be about, which is this grassroots, and it's no disrespect, this grassroots, boots on the ground, getting people engaged, hearing what people say. And as you said at the beginning of your statement, which is that we're all unique and therefore have unique financial goals, and what may be my goals may not be my wife's goals, although you would hope that we would align as a couple. I'm sure it makes it very enjoyable, it sounds like it is from your perspective, to be able to gauge people one-on-one. Even if you can't see them through a Zoom or a Skype or talk to them on the phone, you can at least drill down and ask them questions through email. And you bring in, as you mentioned, resources like certified financial planners and people throughout the community to bring these questions in. Ali, how do people access this column if I'm out there and they go to the marketwatch.com website?
Yeah, so MarketWatch's retirement page, or there's one separate column called Help Me Retire. And if they have any questions of their own, they can also email us at helpmeretire@marketwatch.com.
Excellent. And I mean, you're doing this, I think you indicated are you doing it once a week, once a month?
Once a week for right now. We don't have like a set date or anything like that. It's just, I get my answers, I write up the piece, and then we publish it. But it's roughly about once a week, and typically in the beginning of the week.
Okay. And I mean, you're tackling, it sounds like it's mostly retirement focused, but as you and I both know, because we've been talking about retirement for a long time, and we've been doing it on, whether it's here on the podcast and various interludes, retirement isn't just about retiring. I mean, there's healthcare and buying a home, and you mentioned the family that's waiting to have their first child, right? I mean, there's all these different things that intersect, and I think intellectually that's got to be very stimulating for you.
Yeah, so the questions we always answer with like some retirement accounts that they can use, like the different types of accounts and the rules that they can use, like Roth IRAs and traditional 401ks and all of that. But at the end of the day, these people are not in retirement yet, so it's the path towards retirement. So, we've been talking about, taxes and talking about student loan debt and interest rates and how to do repayment plans and the types of programs available to people to get student loans forgiven if possible. You can never rely on that 100%, but if possible. And all these other different factors and gears that go into eventually saving for retirement. So it has been really I've been learning a lot along the way. I have been writing for MarketWatch for years now, and we cover all sorts of stuff, personal finance and retirement, and I'm also studying CFP material. So it's like a case study every week. But it's been great, and the readers. What I also like is that. So I write the story, like the coronavirus related distribution story. A lot of people have been affected by COVID in some way, shape, or form, especially through means of the economy, what with jobs and all that stuff. And this particular reader was saying, well, I'm not super affected right now. I could pay my bills, but I did see a reduction in wages. So should I take advantage of the COVID-related distributions for 401k distributions? And he obviously wasn't the only one who was thinking that. There are other people out there, and they've emailed me saying, I was in that situation too. Like, I wasn't heavily affected in the sense that I could still pay my bills, but I was wondering, should I take advantage of these rules that allow me to, take penalty-free distributions or, loans over the span of a few years? The answer in that particular case was no, you probably shouldn't do that if you don't have to, unless it's like dire situation. But it was really interesting to see that readers afterwards were emailing me saying, oh, I'm in the same boat. This was helpful, because at the end of the day, that's what we're shooting for, to, really help people.
Well, thanks, Allie. And when we come back, we'll take a look at some of our best segments for the week. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN Weekly. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as one day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. On Tuesday, I sat down with the Motley Fool's Dan Klein to discuss tech employees selling employment referrals. Let's take a look.
It is dishonest, it is unethical, but it also underscores the problem of hiring at big companies. And this is Microsoft, Facebook, Google. These are the desirable tech places to work. And I know, and this may have changed, but when I worked at Microsoft, and I was a vendor, so I didn't have to go through this process, but I multiple times interviewed for internal jobs and went through this process. In one case, my boss was fired right before I got the job. In the other case, the project was eliminated right before I got the job. So I had some success with this, even though it didn't work out. But you basically run an interview gauntlet. You meet with the first person who passes you on to the second person. And if there's something they don't like about you, they tell the second person about that. So they more or less find your weakness and exploit it. So it's really difficult to get an interview in the first place at these companies. And then the interview process is designed to make you fail. As a coder, there is usually a test problem. Those problems can sometimes be found on the internet or what those problems are going to be like. And I feel like, okay, coding is something, there is some base level where you can test, does this person know his stuff or not? I know that, Jeff, you recommending me would mean something because we've been doing this together for, I don't know, a few years. It's been a very long time. And you could say, yeah, Dan's a great media personality. He's very helpful offset. He's willing to put himself out there. Those are things that, realistically you could say about me, and someone could look into our background and say, okay, well, it's reasonable that Jeff would say that. I don't put a lot of stock in, and this is true of my own LinkedIn. So-and-so has endorsed you for copy editing. And I'll be like, I don't know who so-and-so is. And in reality, I am a mediocre copy editor. I don't really want to be endorsed for copy editing. That is not a skill I hang my hat on. I am a great make your story better editor. I am not a great technician as an editor. So I think there is underlying a problem where I know when I hire someone, I'm going as much gut as background, unless it's a very technical position. So I want to spend some time with the person. If I ask for references, I'll ask for references like, give me your closest work friend. Let me talk to that person. And of course, that person's going to say nice things. They're also going to say honest things. I think this undercuts an automated system that is broken. I know that back when I was looking for jobs, I paid a resume service $400, and they redid my resume. And my resume contains, and it still does to this day, a paragraph of gobbledygook, project manager, SEO-driven results, and that's because a lot of companies are using a digital screener, and that screener is looking for those words. That is not a great way to pick people. And I understand your Microsoft, your Google, your Facebook, your Amazon, you're getting a lot of applications. Hire more people to go through those applications. Have introductory interviews with people. I'm part of a service that does mock interview training, I guess it would be called. It's called Online Career Fair. And friends of mine were helping out there. And I do 20-minute interviews with kids in college who are graduating, and I answer questions about their career and preparing for interviews. I get to know those kids a little bit. My sessions always go like 40 minutes, not 20. And sometimes I'd recommend them for jobs based on how dynamic they are, how exciting they are. It doesn't take a lot to screen candidates. You shouldn't need a recommendation that you paid for from someone who doesn't truly know you, which could be uncovered in like 8 seconds. I think you need to get to know someone, and I would argue that talking is the best way to do that. And sure, there might be technical things, but I can learn new skills. I'd say one of my hobbies is reading job ads. I've always done it as a way to just keep up on what's in the industry, what's going on. And I see a lot of jobs that advertise mediocre salaries, and the list of requirements must be a meticulous copy editor who never makes a mistake. The New York Times has a corrections page. Everybody makes mistakes. I understand if you're stressing that this person is the last line of defense, and frankly, that wouldn't be a job I'd apply for because, as I mentioned earlier, that's not my number one skill. But if you could get a dynamic leader like me, you know what I could hire below me? Someone who's really good at copy editing. And you know what that person costs? $35,000 a year. So you have to look at your whole organization. And maybe, you need someone who can plan and host television shows. And there's other skills that they want for that job, but, also does lighting. And you go, well, geez, I'm not really great at lighting. Well, fill in your team. Build around the skills you have. I've never understood why companies don't do this. In my last stint as a newspaper editor, and I'll go quick on this, I went to my boss and said, here's the team we have. Here's what everyone's good at. Let's reorganize people this way. Here's what I think people could learn. Let's cross-train that way, and then we'll be more versatile. And my boss said, well, you can't just move people around like chess pieces. And I said, you can if you move them into positions where they're going to like and succeed. And I think very few companies do that. And it holds you back, and you see that in hiring. That's why we struggle with diversity. That's why we struggle with finding new voices. It's something we work really hard on at The Motley Fool. We have a person in charge of diversity hiring to find different voices. Every company should be doing that. Try to find new sources of employees. And look, I took me 20 years of working to find a good fit. Feels like a company should have found me sooner.
And on Wednesday, I sat down with Rise Up's Tara Falcone to discuss college students seeking alternative means for financial aid. Let's take a look.
To be frank, especially with my kind of behind the scenes experience with Yale University, I know that it's not just the students that are wondering what the fall semester is going to look like. It's really the administration and the staff are trying to navigate very uncharted waters with regard to, how to handle this in the best, safest, healthiest way possible. And what I think is interesting is that, from a university planning perspective, they need to make these large decisions relatively early, a few months before the fall semester actually starts. But there's still so much uncertainty with regard to, the second wave, as they're calling it, and whether or not, these cases are going to continue to increase, yet they're kind of forcing students to make a decision right now about whether they will or will not be returning to campus. And so, there's a lot of incomplete information, which I think is breeding a lot of the uncertainty and the anxiety that students are feeling today. I think what I'm hearing mostly from students right now with regard to uncertainty around paying for especially the fall semester is that it's just very difficult to wrap their head around the value that they're going to be receiving by possibly paying, the same amount that they were paying last fall when they're really unsure what that experience is going to look like. I think higher ed would love to believe that, the full amount that students are paying is really only for the academic experience that they're getting. But let's be real, we've both gone to college. We know that there's a social aspect here too, that, is a large part of the value that students perceive of going to college. So, with regard to how students view that value as having changed and how much they'd be willing to pay for college, how much of that they want to pay up front versus how much they want to maybe put onto loans. There's even been some talk of some students, thinking about putting these things on credit cards, which I highly, discourage people from doing. But, there hasn't been a lot of information coming out yet about how tuition will be adjusted, if at all. And so I think we still need to wait for a bit more information on that front. But, to be honest, I was a first gen low income student. I would be wondering the same things right now. Does this really make sense for me to pay for this semester, or should I wait for things to shake out a bit, to really understand the impact it will have on my financial life? Absolutely discourage people from putting, large purchases that they can't pay for in cash today on credit cards. Of course, if you're putting it on the credit card just to get the points, and then you pay it off that month, that's fine. But putting a deferred payment onto a credit card is one of the most expensive things you can ever do. And so, if that is something that someone's considering, how do I pay for this? Definitely go for, the lower cost loans if that's what's going to, help you afford your tuition payments. Definitely not put this stuff on credit cards. I mean, everybody's like, oh, the value of a college education will increase and it'll pay me back over time. Credit card interest is a very nasty, nasty thief. It will just continue to erode the value of your financial life into the future. Definitely don't recommend it. I will say I think people are waiting to obtain as much information as possible to make the best decisions for themselves. So you mentioned, parents assisting in paying for college and tuition, and that, a number of them have been laid off or furloughed, or have had their salaries decreased. We've also, seen with what has happened in the market so far this year, some people's accounts, whether it's an actual education account like a 529 or some type of investment account that was earmarked for education, has now maybe dropped in value. And so that's another question, is like, well, how, I had this much money set aside for education, but how can I really afford to pay for it when the market, is in a certain place, or my investments are in a certain place? So I think, the survey results that I've seen specifically internally, a lot of students are very concerned. Given the choice, if they're allowed to go back to campus, they want to, right? So many of us are craving social interaction. But, the big multi-million dollar question is, how safe is it? And I don't think any of us have a real clear answer on that right now.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN Weekly, but we're not done for the week, because tomorrow I'll be joined by members of the media, academia, and financial services on the BRN Sunday podcast, where we analyze all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, and more. You're not going to want to miss this show. It's another great one. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.